welcome everybody to Draft Chat. We are back. I know, disregard what you hear in the background. There's some shrub shredding going on my side of things. I think you might be muted too, Eric.
That's because there's airplanes flying
Okay,
around on my side.
perfect. Yeah, we'll try to do a good job of muting ourselves if it gets too bad while the other person is talking. But nevertheless, welcome back. We are back face to face. I have my dual screen set up now, and internet's a little bit better, so hopefully this is gonna go smoothly. But I wanted to just come back and get back on track with our usual weekly talk of what's been going on. We are in the middle of week 2 right now in season 6 of our draft, our second VGC draft, and right off the bat, there's been a lot of cool stuff going on. I feel like we see that people have learned a lot about doubles and they are pulling out fun stuff, and the fact that there's an LCQ might also be fueling that. But I have like a whole list of tabs of highlights that I want to talk about, so we can just jump on in with our usual format. But first, Eric, how have you been feeling about the draft season so far?
Super excited. I agree with you that people are pulling out the stops, they're pulling out the combos, and it almost feels like our exhibition matches had carried into the actual draft season with people just willing to do some weird, strange stuff. I'm seeing a lot of like totally different squads coming in the best of 2 out of 3, which is also fun. I know that I'm trying to work on having better lead options and more consistent answers. And it just feels like people are thinking Pokemon. Um, Maybe not more, but maybe more intensely.
Yeah, definitely more intensely. And I'm really glad that we've seen content, not just from us, but Scoutflower, James, put out a really great video of his prep against Nels and the Wasatch Wingulls. And just this morning or last night, Carter put out a video of his match against Hoppips. So please go check those out. And anybody else that is interested in giving your thoughts, like you are welcome to use the channel if you want. You can talk to me about getting help recording, even if it's just you're talking and I'm recording you, and then I can upload it. But I'm really hyped that people are getting into it, and those videos have helped me think about how I play, and just seeing other people's trains of thought is it's great, very helpful, very informative.
Yeah, we love it. We're going to have a network that can take on CNN someday.
Yeah, it's just so cool that we have such a large group of players that are good and care about it, and I really think we have something special here. Oh my goodness. um, it's all right. It's all right. I'll try to fix it in post to what I can. But let's start off with talking about the waivers. There weren't so many this week, but right after week 1, we did see a few waivers go in. I think we saw you waiver Wobbuffet for Persian. We saw Scoutflower and the Rose City Roserades waiver Azelf for Braviary and Unpheasant for Linoon Galar. And then the last waiver we saw was, I believe, the Saffron City Crocs wavering Lucario for Nidoking. Do you have any preliminary thoughts, and do you want to even mention why you maybe got rid of Wobbuffet right off the bat?
Yeah, it was for a nerve, straight up. I wanted a nerve on a team that it felt like could take quick kills, but could also be undone by smart use of resist berries. Clearly like my Chandelure, Diggersby, Kabutops, Primarina all have great coverage, but I feel like if they're not taking one shots, they're vulnerable to being one shot. So I wanted something fast that could just stop the berry game. And even though I was pretty excited to have Wobbuffet in the first place as a potential part of a Parish Song puzzle, it felt like the rest of my team isn't a consistent enough Parish Song team to make that work. And I don't know. I don't know that Wobbuffet's bad. I feel like in a max format, Wobbuffet could even be kind of good, but I don't know. I didn't feel like I was ready to go down that dedicated road, and Unnerved just seems too good. It seems really good, especially on a Pokemon as fast as Persian, with speed control, with taunt, with foul play, with fake out. I've always liked Persian, and man, boy, I have a lot of fake out options.
Yeah, and I'm jealous. I have one fake out option, and already in week two, I'm feeling the pressure of like, do I have to slap this Pokemon on every team? Especially as a fake out Pokemon that doesn't have it has great options but no offensive options. And that's something that I'm kind of missing from having Weavile, Rillaboom. I loved my my fake out options last season, but yeah, Wobbuffet and Persian both dropped down to tier 4 from tier 3. I think they're both good. I think Persian is great. I think that Unnerve, as you said, is something that we haven't really seen the significance of just yet, but because we've seen these type resist berries in almost every game, uh, even just for the sake of switching it in and netting that kill, especially on your team, which is going pretty fast and hard from what we've seen so far, I think it's going to play out really well. What do you think about the Lucario Nidoking?
Great. I think that Nidoking is harder to stop because it's such a great special attacker. It's got a better move pool than Lucario. They both have really interesting defensive typing. I think we can agree on that. But as an offensive threat, I feel like Nidoking is maybe a little harder to stop if speed control is in its favor, just because of, sheer force life or craziness.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't have his team pulled up, but I don't know that he had a immunity to electric. That's just something that is awesome, and I know that the team already had a good steel type.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Had
this
Registeel and no beat up option, so I think that dropping Lucario was a great pick. And Nidoking is just incredibly powerful, as we saw from the Woodos last season.
great Pokemon, monstrous. I feel like cool speed tier for both Trick Room and Tailwind, or just Thunder Wave, Icy Wind shenanigans. That thing is gonna take kills. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
despite Lucario's setup options, I think that Nidoking's kind of more of a threat offensively.
yeah. James's waivers are interesting too. I'm a little bummed, I guess, that I didn't get to see what the vision for um, Azelf was, just because I remember it shredding me in singles, fourth gen or whatever. It was on all
Yeah.
sorts of teams as hyper offense. But Braviary seems like a great pick in a format where Defiant is probably going to get boosted. I
Yeah.
think it does have Tailwind, possibly on its own.
Yeah, I
Um,
want to go check it out. I didn't.
but the thing has made appearances on VGC teams over the past few years just
Mm-hmm.
because of this niche. A Defiant boosted rock slide to the face just sucks. And what else did he?
He also got Linun Galar.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so maybe Braviary came in for Unpheasant, because I know Unpheasant's also kind of this niche tailwinder with a weird ability,
Yeah.
Super Luck versus Defiant. I think Defiant is definitely more consistent in this format. And I feel like we were talking about Linoons back in Spokane, and which one was better. Um,
Yeah, I was looking at Linun Galar as a tier 4 pick because it gets some wild stuff. First off, it has 100 base speed, which is pretty dang great. It has a neat typing in that it is immune to ghost, it resists dark, and it has good defenses with Eviolite and has some great support moves. I was just refreshing myself here, but gets knockoff, gets parting shot, gets quick guard, extreme speed, even all these egg moves. It gets simple beam, which I could see used to great success, with a body press iron defense set. It gets snarl, fake tears, icy wind, screech, thunder wave. So this thing does
It's a
not get
wild support move.
yeah, does not get the extreme speed belly drum stuff that normal Linoon, might have trouble pulling off in draft anyway. But the fact that it gets all that support is great for a tier 4. So kudos to the Rose Raids for picking that up, and I think that he'll be able to. I think it gets baby doll eyes as well. So he will definitely be able to find support with that thing. It's going to be bulkier. Man, I'm always surprised by Pokemon's bulk. And I feel like 2 times in the last 2 weeks that I've been very surprised was first by your Chandelure, which was able to live that max geyser, or whatever the move is called, from Urshifu. And
Yeah, I forget too.
in a most recent game, or in not most recent, but Joe versus Casey, I saw that Vulpix tank. It's ridiculous without Eviolite. And so it just really made me realize that with investment, like full investment, not just full HP, you can just make things incredibly bulky.
More and more and more, I'm settling on these move sets that are just dedicated to one defensive stat. And often that involves putting a ton in HP, but you're right that that's not enough. That's just like general, I don't know what to do with my EVs bulk.
Right.
That's like a thin layer of fat. But if you want to like live certain attacks, you have to commit usually to one or the other, and this Hitmonchan, for example, I think is a great candidate for lots of special defense because of its natural bulk, maybe because of Assault Vest. And I felt like in that match, Chandelure was going to have to contend with physical water attacks more than anything. Like, that was the scary part of that match. And so I just went all HP, all defense, and I was surprised at what it lived. Now, Chandelure has like 90 base both defenses, I think, so it's already pretty good. But 60 HP is kind of crummy, and I was proud of it for kind of seeming like a defensive Pokemon, even when it's the cannon.
Yeah, and you were telling me, I think, I was hanging out with you while you were planning and doing this match against the Long Boys, but most of your Pokemon had like full defensive spreads, didn't they? Or relatively full.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I probably had a total of 60 to 100 offensive EVs invested across that entire team.
That's wild.
I believe that there's some to it. I don't know that that's the right strategy. Maybe I'm going over the top, but Lane and I spent a lot of time talking about successful teams from back in the day, like back in 2011, and it was often just super bulky stuff that is getting to dish 2 or 3 moves instead of 1 or 2 moves, and the offensive EV difference stops mattering in that case.
Yeah, that's something that I always say this, but I never do enough, is thinking about what you're going to need to just 2-hit kill, 3-hit kill, whatever, or with your partners. I just always get so scared of what if there's going to be an offensive drop that I don't see coming from a Max Mon, and then suddenly that 2-hit KO that I had EV'd for becomes a 3-hit KO, and I lose out because of that. Like, how much of a buffer do you give yourself for something unexpected? Or, a grassy terrain healing, a life dew, a surprise berry, or leftovers.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot you got to think about, I guess, but...
Yeah, and do you get yourself into trouble by thinking about all these like bizarre specific scenarios that could play out, but it turns out that they don't, or in my case, my opponent often brings stuff that I didn't think they were going to bring, or I don't know.
Yeah.
There's an argument to be made for teching, and I think there's an argument to be made for just trying to build the most consistent bulky strat in a vacuum as possible.
Yeah, that's kind of what James was talking about in his video, more so with leads, but, figuring out what your best lead is against their options, and then having a secondary option if that goes south. I'm the type of person that changes my lead. When I win with the lead, I want to change it because I want to catch them off guard.
Yeah.
I'm like, I beat them with this, so they're going to bring this, and I'm going to bring the thing that beats that. But it doesn't always work out.
No, I know what you're saying. It doesn't always work out. I wonder if it's better to bring the same lead but play it differently in game two. Um, I get wanting to like keep the momentum and stay a step ahead of them, but man, too many times have I brought a different lead and then shat the bed when I wish that I had just like, instead of going straight for fake out trick room, I wish I had protected or switch it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just play it different, play it slower.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down, and a part of it is playing against your opponent, maybe knowing their history and how they like to do things, because I've definitely lost to Carter after winning game one and then shifting, and he just brings the same thing that he originally brought and then beats me and ends up winning out the set. And so
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much people read into their opponents, but yeah, there's, as we know, Pokemon, it's a wild game. It's a heartbreaking game, but that's why we love it. But yeah, so those are the waivers, and I hope to see some more this week, though maybe not too many. I know people are kind of feeling out their teams, seeing what works, what doesn't. A lot of these matches in the whole season are going to be experimentation for the playoffs, potentially. You want to see if your stuff works. I think we can probably just jump into this, because my team against the Long Boys, I guess I will go ahead and try to throw it up here. But I have been experimenting with certain things just to see if they work out, and one of those things is the move Entrainment, which is a form of ability suppression. We saw this with Nels versus Scoutflower as well, me versus the Long Boys, that Lightning Rod was an ability that was going to screw us over, right? And one of those ways is, you just have to have strong counters for that Lightning Rod Pokemon, maybe predict when they're going to come in, just play well. Another way that you can get around that is through ability suppression. And there aren't very many ways to do it. There's Gastro Acid, Entrainment, Role Play, Skill Swap, though Skill Swap doesn't end up working in the Lightning Rod department, because you're just going to target whoever skill swapped him. And then there's Wheezing, of course. We saw Wheezing Galar get picked up, and I think, as you said, Wheezing Regular is still available.
Still available. And then Worry Seed is another move that...
Ooh, Worry Seed. Yes, thank you.
It does it.
Okay, let me present. I haven't done this in a while. Are you seeing something?
Yeah, I see your John team.
Yeah, so this is the team that I ended up bringing against John, and obviously I knew that Thundurus was going to be really strong against the Celesteela, and I needed to figure out how I was going to stop the Raichu from just absorbing. And it didn't end up being an issue. I know that John has been super busy with his own thing going on. They're going camping, so he didn't actually end up bringing Lightning Rod. But that was what I was most scared of. And to play against it, I had my Scarf Alchemy with Entrainment to get rid of it. And I also had Lopunny with Entrainment as well, which I didn't really think about how good this would be with Klutz Lopunny until I started prepping for this team. But
it's great on that rabbit. I feel like you can meddle with all sorts of strategies using that.
Well, we know how good Knockoff is, right? And Entrainment is similar to Knockoff in that it is getting rid of an item. Not the same way, because it could switch out, still have the item, but you are nullifying its ability to use its item as well as getting rid of an ability. Which is, so it has the pros over Knockoff in that it gets rid of the ability, the cons that it doesn't do damage, and it doesn't permanently get rid of the item. But those sorts of item and ability nullifying moves are something I've been trying to think more about, and how worth it are they? in this format.
Yeah, I think they can pay off dividends if you know you're facing something. If you just know that weakness policy Celesteela is going to be knocking at your door, then removing that weakness policy, maybe getting rid of Beast Boost, all that stuff matters. But if you're just throwing it on as something that you can like maybe do, I feel like something like Wheezing is a safer option because, he can protect, he can do things, he can will-o-wisp, he's annoying. And I almost think that in a lot of scenarios, regular Wheezing is better than, like some people have argued that it's a better Regigigas partner because your opponent is not clicking Max Steel Spike versus regular Wheezing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or less likely to. Yeah, I think that for Regigigas, I hope that we get to see some Worry Seed from Cottony or Rillaboom on that, just because it's less of an obvious target. Like when you see Rillaboom and Regigigas, you're maybe afraid of the fake out. You're maybe afraid of the Rillaboom just hitting something while the Regigigas switches out or whatever. Thunder Waves.
Thunderwaves, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the moves are almost better than the Wheezing suppression ability. Though there's a lot of application for neutralizing gas, obviously, in a lot of other ways. Getting rid of Intimidate, stopping
Yeah,
terrain.
the way it annoys the opponent is hard to top. But I love your idea for alt ways of activating something like Regigigas. And man, Thunderwave has been ignored. I remember when Regigigas was just admittedly going to be a wall that threw out annoying status, and in a world where that Thunderwave becomes a max guard and where he can actually be a physical attacker if you get the ability suppression off. That sounds really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Regigigas would be a great candidate for building quite bulky, and not just going into speed and attack. Because a lot of the time, if they're targeting your Wheezing, you know they're going to do that. I think that there'd be a lot of merit to switching out that Wheezing and Thunder Waving. And, setting up other stuff with Regigigas. Just waiting out those 5 turns, even.
Yeah, not maxing right off the bat, spreading some status, and then coming back and dealing the big hits.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially if you could work some self-healing onto that team.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I guess, I just wanted to bring that up because I didn't really get to see entrainment use. I wanted to test it out, and so I know I'll get a chance in the future to see how it works out.
Yeah, and whoever nabbed Durant, keep that move in mind. Right?
Yeah, the Barboach, I briefly talked about this before, but I think in training Hustle onto something like your Rhydon would be terrifying.
It'd be crazy.
Just in certain matchups where you have one physical threat that's going to tear apart your opponent's core, your Durant suddenly becomes a fast, semi-support Pokemon. Don't just max it right away.
I'd love to see that. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Araquanid gets it. We could see entrainment Water Bubble on Riley's Tentacruel, making it, more of a wall and also throwing out really strong water moves. There's some fun stuff you could do.
I might be seeing entrainment tomorrow late morning.
Yeah, you might. You just might. But let's move on from this to talk about some of the highlights from last week. Are you kidding me?
You're gonna have to name a Pokemon Shrub Shredder this week.
Yeah, this. I swear, it
Metagross,
happens always
maybe?
as soon as I start recording. I'm like, doesn't seem like today's gonna be the day. Nope, they're out in full force, and we somehow get all of the noise in the neighborhood comes right through our windows. There's a couple matches that I want to talk about, and so I'll just present my entire screen for now.
Oh man, the shredding starting in Camus as well.
Great. Okay, so this is the first thing that I
Oh
wanted to talk
yeah.
about. This is the Blackthorn Bandits versus the Saffron City Crocs, Brantley versus Isaac. This is cool because it kind of showcased for me how awesome these heavy Trick Room teams can be in just having a fast mode. And we also see this with Carter's team, right? Seems heavy Trick Room, but his Raiko has been doing amazing work in both of his matches these weeks. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of like go through. I have a lot of matches I want to show, and we can just quickly talk about it. But here we see the Weavile Surf Strat paired with Gastrodon, a Pokemon that did really well for Riley last season. And just right off the bat, like, you might think that this is a weak play because the Weavile is, not doing much damage, but it is breaking any potential sashes, and Gastrodon with a +1 special attack becomes pretty scary.
Frightening. Yeah, Gastrodon's always been a reliable linchpin, like great typing, great ability, and then people are always disappointed in the damage output. But this is one of many ways around it.
Yeah.
And I love this too because nobody thinks that a Weavile is going to surf right off the bat unless there's a Colossal there or something like that. And there's the fake out threat that just brings cool mind games. And now, like, I don't know, now a Gastrodon has taken what? 3 lives?
Yeah, it takes
4 lives.
3 kills here, and then immediately after he goes into a lead that is Indeedee Hatterene, hard Trick Room psychic offense, which is going to be way different than what you need to deal with this lead. So Brantley does a good job of showcasing 2 strong options he has that he can bring on the same team, and it pays off really well for him. So that's one of the things I wanted to highlight. Next up, this match just floored me. Just absolutely floored me because both games go in totally different ways than I would have expected. This is Tyler versus Emilio week 1. I will give a disclaimer that Tyler was playing on his phone, and I'm sure he was a few White Claws deep at this point. But he plays well, Emilio plays well, and I just love what we see from Emilio's roster in this.
I mean, there's a Golbat and a Mawile.
Yeah, there's a Golbat, there's a Mawile. You bring your 2 tier 4s. We see Uxie. Uxie in this game does great support work. Right off the bat, tricking a Choice Scoff onto that Musharna, and that is going to come back to help him. We also see that this Mawile is throwing out Sludge Bombs. Like, what? I didn't know that Mawile got Sludge Bomb. I didn't know that Mawile would be entertained as a special attacker, ever. But, yeah, even without sheer force, it's...
Yeah, I don't know what its special attacking stat is. I don't know if it gets any other special attacks, but, Finny was clearly going to be brought against him.
Yeah, and so he went with this Sludge Bomb. Here, a couple other cool things. Mawiles doing huge damage against that Uxie. Mawiles, one of the strongest dragons with Hustle.
Speaking of Hustle, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of great defensive switching in this game.
Good targeting by Tyler here. The Golbat comes out. Tabu Fini protects itself. Golbat living that max Wormwind, setting up a nasty plot.
Yeah, this is just...
Trick Room wears off.
Very aggressive, ballsy play all around.
And at this point, it's really hard to see Emilio be able to make a comeback. 3 Pokemon down, he only has Garchomp left. But he has been able to safely switch out, keep his really fast threat, and he still has Dynamax available.
Yeah, and I mean, listen to what you just said. He only has
Yeah, he
Garchomp
only has
left.
Garchomp. But immediately we see it come out, starting to raise its special defense. Lives that hustle outrage like a champ.
Definitely takes the right kills in the right order.
And then here, there is a world where if that Musharna set up Trick Room, it would probably be able to win out here. But because it is scarfed, thanks
Yep.
to that Uxie, it is unable to get the extra turn.
Amazing game, full of surprises and full of things that you might not think would end up affecting the outcome.
Yeah.
Just like that. And I think Uxie's kind of been slammed a lot, but it is so thick that it's probably going to get a move off. And if it's a trick room, if it's a trick, if it's a
Yeah.
reflect, all those things matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I have the second game up just because I thought this set was so
This was
cool.
just truly entertaining. This
Yeah.
was entertaining Pokemon.
Great, great Pokemon. Trick Scarf coming off right away. Tyler's using Flare Blitz instead of Sacred Fire because he's got that Tapu Fini. Straight
Wow,
up just old school Levitate Earthquake strats with Helping Hand. Love to see it.
that's a lot of raw damage.
Kartana comes out. Scary, scary Pokemon to face down. Getting that Beast Boost, the Defense Boost. Only a special attack's going to be able to threaten it here.
Emilio seems to keep his calm. If I was staring down a Max Kartana, and my option was this grass type or this fairy type, I would feel defeated, but I don't know. He seems to be another guy that really trusts the bulk of his Pokemon, and I would guess that he makes pretty bulky sets
Yeah.
overall.
That was a great max guard by Tyler there. Tapu Fini is still up, dishing things out. Good switch to Uxie. And this Serena, yeah, as you said, the bulk is just there.
Yeah, this Clefable has just been hanging out with a tough crowd of steel types.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing I think we mentioned when we saw this match for the first time is Uxie's also throwing around extra sensory, which is kind of a cool move. Not many Pokemon get it. It's a little less powerful than Psychic, but it does have the 20% flinch chance. So I love to see that. I'm not sure if
Me,
Raikou gets it as well, and that's what we were seeing from Carter.
yeah, I love seeing that too. And if a Pokemon gets Waterfall versus Liquidation, I'm always going for the Waterfall because to me it's yeah, 10, 15, 20 points of damage matter, but a flinch really matters.
Yeah, yeah, you love that. All right, moving on. I know we're seeing a lot of rapid highlights, but there was just so much cool stuff coming out of week one that I had to highlight it and show the video for it. So this is week one, Jason versus Jackson. Jason has the all-out offense team that I think we had suggested a lot of changes for, but this set made me believe that it's just truly frightening because he has all these physical attackers and you have a tough time preparing for everything. We see the strong Intimidate Arcanine in this whole set, and I'm only showing game one here, I believe, but even with Intimidate, Jackson, I guess this is game two after an initial loss by Jason, but even with Intimidate, he has a tough time dealing with just the Cinderace. I love this match, this game in particular. So we see the Intimidate right off the bat. Lapras probably going to set up that Aurora Veil, but Cinderace just boosts its attack. Mitigates that Intimidate. And then, coaching, baby. We finally see some coaching. With Guts Throw.
Yeah, I love that we see something that's willing to try and outpace Aurora Veil, and it works.
Yeah. it it works pretty dang well. And this Cinderace is bulky at this point with a plus 1.5 defense too.
Screech, Thievul, I'm sure you love seeing that.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to help his Rillaboom pal out. But look at how well that Thievul takes that Guts. That just, I guess, normal superpower. Intimidate, we've seen 2 Intimidates and still the Cinderace with the boosts. Okay, this is what made me say, wow.
Yeah.
Bounce Cinderace with Earthquake throw. And I'm sure this is for, max Airstream flying type Cinderace. But the fact that this worked out in this way is just
Cheeky.
So cool. Yeah.
Cinderace didn't get picked last draft, did it?
It did. It was used by the Brantley team, the Blackthorn City
Oh, yeah.
Bandits. And then just when you think you're done with the physical threats, out comes Galar Darm. Paired with Ludicolo is just great. You fake out the one thing that might be able to deal with it. Dynamax is over.
You flinch the other thing.
You flinch the other thing. Yeah, unfortunate that foul play couldn't go off there. But just great work by Jason, proving me wrong in what I thought was maybe too many physical attackers.
It's just a swarm. It's a physical swarm. And listen, not many of these draft teams have the ability to cycle Intimidate or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and this is one of the better Intimidate teams, so I'm curious to see the future of this team for sure. Oh, I do have the second game, but we don't need to go into it. We're already spent a lot of time on the highlights. Oh, yes. Okay. One more very cool thing that happened here. This is game 1 of your set against the Long Boys. And we had talked briefly in our team review of Eldegoss and this ability that I, frankly, didn't know existed.
Me neither.
But we get to see it pay off in a big way on this team with this beautiful grass couple here. Here we see double grass lead, a self-charm.
A self-charm
Yes.
right off the bat.
Self-charm right off the bat, and then your Heat Wave activates Cotton Down, raising its speed. Petal Blizzard hits its friend again, activates Cotton Down again, making his Eldegoss faster than your Chandelure and able to put you asleep.
I didn't know what was happening to me.
Yeah, you played into it a little well here with the Bulldoze, activating another speed boost and speed down for you guys. But just that string of text that happened from Blue Dream here, that's what John was dreaming of, I'm sure, when he picked up these 2 Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
And at this point,
At this point, that thing is just getting boosts at will.
Mm-hmm, getting healed.
Getting healed. Once I saw the Pollen Cuff come out, I knew that this game was going to be rough.
Yeah.
And this Chandelure has been to sleep twice. You wouldn't think that a Chandelure staring these 2 Pokemon down would be too hard for it, but man, he pranked me. He pranked me real good.
Just wild.
And it's kind of cool that he has this as like a self-contained little combo mode outside of the really nice Raichu, Celesteela, Urshifu.
Yeah.
This is just something that could come out on any given game and wreck you, because how do you practice against the weirdness? Like, is he going to Charm? Is he going to Superpower? Is he going to Leaf Storm? Is he going to Petal Blizzard? Is he going to Sleep Powder? I don't know.
Yeah. Especially when I think it complements his strong Pokemon very well, because he has the Celesteela to resist flying, he has the Urshifu to threaten fire types that would be good against this, he has the Raichu for flying types as well. And so I was expecting him not to bring this combo in my match, but I was secretly worried about him actually pulling it out and what my answer to it would be, especially just with the sleep powder option as a way to really just nullify your, if you have one threat like your Chandelure against it.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Tornadus, maybe I should have just brought Tornadus Chandelure, and maybe that would have been cleaner. But
Yeah, and you did end up being able to pull out the win in the match here, but I did want to highlight that, John, that was some great stuff.
yeah, I hope we get to see more of that signature combo in different forms. And I know that Lurantis has a crummy move pool, but the fact that it can go physical, special,
Mm-hmm.
or status is kind of cool.
Yeah. All right, I think we just have a few more here. Ooh, this was a match that happened last night, but I just wanted to highlight something that I think is quite good and we've seen is the Iron Defense body press stuff. But this match was just played very well by both teams, and I wanted to take a look over it. This is the Mawiles versus the Firekeepers. And this is something that I just wanted to say, great work on Marcus for switching out that Sceptile even after it gotten a boost. That's something that I'm so greedy that I would have a tough time doing.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, I can take that Blizzard, no problem, I'll just max. But it just ended up being what he needed to do, and I think it paid off well getting the Liberty Bell out here.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Too greedy.
Yeah. He's seen what Uxie does. The taunt is just perfect there. Liberty Bell's starting to stack those defenses. Good ally switch there.
Yeah, it's pretty frightening because with body press, Iron Defense, Bronzong doesn't really need any other attacks, and it can afford to run ally switch, Trick Room, or Trick Room Imprison. And I don't know. The thing is like a slowly building win condition.
Yeah.
You keep protecting it.
Exactly. And here we see that ally switch paying off big time because Emilio, with Garchomp in the back here, might be one of the few things that can deal with his Bronzong. Maybe not even after the defense boosts. He tries to get the Iron Ball onto Bronzong to be able to hit it, but that ally switch just saves him. And now that Bronzong's pretty much just guaranteed win. Memento, another cool move that we don't see very often. But here it's like, what do you do?
What do you do? You Swords Dance.
Yeah, you try to match it. But that big bell is just going to be coming down. I think that body press Iron Defense strats are so good in the max format because not only are you getting, when you think about it, you're getting two bulk ups because it's increasing your defensive stat and your offensive stat. Also, it is way less likely to be lowered by Intimidate, by Wyrmwind, stuff like that. Charm, is not going to affect it. Screech is way less popular. So any Pokemon that can do that is just going to be threatening in its own right, even though you're limited to the fighting offense. But in certain matchups, it's just going to do you very, very well.
Yeah,
I know that
you can patch that up with your team pretty easy.
Yeah, I know that Carter brought it, I think, on his Glastrier body press.
Whoa.
Maybe he ended up changing that. And then I guess this is just game 2 of this same match that we'll finish out here with our highlight reel.
Rotom Garchomp is such a cool... I love the Levitate synergy on this Garchomp team.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell... Emilio that I had a lot of luck with Max Strike Garchomp. It's like... For some reason, being able to just icy win the team with your own monster threat really helps. I could see it being good against like, the 130 speed tier guys.
Yeah.
Um, Unfortunately, it won't help versus Dragapult teams, but
Taunt from, he had two taunters, the Firekeepers, which really helped out here. And this Sandstorm chip has taken lives as well.
yeah, is this setup Bronzong the new iteration of the Firekeeper's defense? Is this like the more elegant, streamlined version of last year's team or last season's team?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, certainly Hippowdon would have loved to have body press iron defense options, but Bronzong with the immunities and the ability to ally switch kind of makes it even more interesting.
Wow.
And there we see the Bell taking it in 2 games. Not
Wow.
needing to max, just bulking up, being patient, and getting the win when it needed to. But yeah, I know that was kind of haphazard, showing all of the clips there, but I just wanted to give you guys shout outs. And there were more awesome plays that I didn't have time to think about and get ready. But I want to keep trying to see the cool things that everybody's doing. We see a new move, we see a new power Pokemon that we didn't see before, like Bronzong. We saw Ryan do amazing work with Bronzong last season as a defensive, hard Trick Room setup. But here we can see it not even thinking about using Trick Room.
Yeah. No, I think we got to keep celebrating the wild stuff that we see early in the season. We'll have time to get more consistent and rein things in before the final tournament, but now's the time to see like what are the limits of what this team can do and which members might have to go. Um, I think that many people, even if they're being conservative on waivers, probably want to consider wavering before the point that they did last season, where you get to the tournament and you haven't had a chance to practice with a new
Yeah,
squad.
yeah, that's a scary thing to do. Um, yeah, it's real exciting, real fun. I'm having a great time already, and I'm still in this mode where I miss my old team, but
Yeah.
I think that everybody's starting to figure out what works for them on their teams, and we're getting to that new class phase where you're figuring everything out. Next up, why don't we talk about at least one match that we're excited to see this week? We kind of did this at the end of the week, and surprisingly, a lot of matches got done last night on Thursday because I think a fourth of the league is leaving on a camping trip for this long weekend. But there is one match that's going to be happening on Sunday that I'm very excited for, and that is the Wasatch Wingulls versus the Manitou Park Prankers. Nels versus Casey. A match that feels very climactic, even though they've only had, I think, 2 run-ins in the past in tournaments, or maybe a few more. Casey obviously had the edge on Nels last draft season, but Nels has won a match off of Casey in a VGC tournament before. So let's take a look here. I haven't had really a lot of time to look at either of these teams too much, but initially I could see this going either way because obviously Excadrill is very strong against this hard electric team. Also, Gourgeist I think is surprisingly strong against this because we know that Nels has a ghost problem. On the other side of things, Halucha does pretty well against T-Tar and Excadrill and Gourgeist and Toxicroak.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a little bit of who's going to bring what. I think Rotom Wash is strong for Nels. I think Stoutland might be strong for Casey, even the Intimidate variety. I love that we see the Gardevoir Gallade showdown once again. Cursula did great work with weak armor last time. Unfortunately, it's not getting fast enough to outpace the Sand Rush options here. So I think you were talking a little bit when we had our warm up, but I think you were talking about Trick Room in this game, right?
Yeah, it feels like speed control of some kind is going to be, what wins it for the person that ends up pulling it off. But I don't know that it's going to have to be Trick Room. I could just see Trick Room benefiting Nels' team against like a fast sand mode. But Nels has fast modes of his own, like you said, with Halucha, with Whimsicott. Um, I guess the problem is I don't see any immediate speed on par with Excadrills or Inteleons, for Christ's sake, to
Yeah.
pair with that Tailwind. So that's kind of why I was thinking that Trick Room looks nice for Nels. I commiserate with him as someone that has one Pokemon that pretty much screams, "Hey, I'm gonna be the Trick Roomer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, dismantle me." But I don't know. He has other options. Bronzor should probably not be underestimated. Um, Speaking of how an Eviolite can make something, bulky, really bulky.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Flareon looks good for Nels. I
You
feel
think
like,
so?
yeah, I do. Doesn't that guy superpower?
Yeah, I guess. It's probably strong enough to take out T-Tar in Trick Room.
Yeah.
I'm not so much that Trick Room is going to be the answer, but I think Halucha is going to be what Casey needs to deal with and what Nels needs to think about. Just because Unburden puts it faster than anything on Casey's team, and
Yeah.
he has an activator. He has two activators, depending on if he's going terrain or weakness policy. Um, is there a world where Casey's going to think about going Trick Room here with a bulky Excadrill? I think that might be great for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And if,
Glaceon's great. It gets freeze dry, right? For Rotom
yeah,
Wash?
yes, yes, the chess match here is deep into their lower tiers, actually. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about Hawlucha, Excadrill, T-Tar for obvious reasons. But I feel like Flareon, Piloswine, Bronzor, Pincurchin on Nels' side are going to do a lot of work, and I feel like Toxicroak, Glaceon, maybe even Rapidash look good on K. I don't know. I don't know what I
Rapidash.
would bring, and I wonder how much Torracat can offset some of the immediate physical attack that Excadrill, T-Tar, Toxicroak, etc. bring.
Yeah. Man, it's tough. I'm thinking, like, Whimsicott is obviously something that needs to be dealt with. Casey only has Toxicroak for Fake Out. So we can assume that he's going to try to bring that to either stop Trick Room or Tailwind from going off. And then we kind of see what's going to deal with that. I like Toxicroak with Dry Skin for Rotom Wash, too. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, Casey only has Toxicroak for Fake Out, and Nels has a faster Fake Out Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting.
I can see Piloswine doing work here as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, Piloswine hits a lot of Casey's team for super effective.
Yeah, and we know that it's bulkier and stronger. We've seen it be put to good work by Ryan and by Carter previously in drafts.
Yeah, man, actually, I'm having an intense flashback now because I was piloting the
Yeah,
Inteleon team
Inteleon versus
versus
Piloswine.
Piloswine, and I just flubbed it in every way that I could. And don't underestimate that Piloswine.
Yeah, he's wily. He's wily. I'm not sure if this is even still a move, but there's that move that Whimsicott might get access to. Is it Cotton Spore? Like Scary Face that is a grass type that would be activated by Prankster. I'm not even sure if that's an option, but I remember it being a
I'm
move.
I'm looking to see it. Yes, Whimsicott, Maractus, Slurpuff, Eldegoss, Roserade line.
Wow, Slurpuff gets it? Okay, so it's just a single
Yeah.
target. It's like Scary Face, right?
No. All adjacent foes lowers opponent speed 2 stages. So I think it's like
It's like
string
String
shot.
Shot, Prankster String Shot on Whimsicott?
Y- Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, this might be something that Nels is holding on to, honestly, and hasn't brought to my attention just yet.
I
But
didn't know. I didn't know that this move existed.
I did not know that it hit both opponents. I've been talking about how great String Shot is, and
Yeah,
obviously
so
String
this
Shot can't be Sap Sippered, but
yeah, this is maybe not as good, but having it on Whimsicott and whoever got Cottony, by the way, this can also do a
wow.
prankster Cotton Spore.
Wow. Okay, cool. Figuring
Yeah,
something out about this game every single
every
day.
day.
Every single day. Oh man. Okay. Well, yeah. This is a match to look out for, and I'm very excited to see how it shakes out. I have no clue what either of them are going to do, and I'm just excited. Tornadus seems good. Oh man.
Yeah, I know that Casey was happy to get um Ditherian Tornadus for regen for some different weather, perhaps. And it does give him a different form of speed control and a fast tailwind. Not as fast as Whimsicott tailwind, but
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. This match really, I think, shows us the rock, paper, scissors that happens so much in VGC matches where certain combos beat certain combos, and this is going to be one of those difficult. What can I find?
This feels like a fight of the night. This is like the last event on a card.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the quality of the teams here and the quality of how much these two think about their prep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very exciting. But yeah, that's the one match that I wanted to showcase this week. And as things heat up and rivalries are built, we'll probably focus on a few more later. But I'm not sure if there's anything you want to talk about before we sign off here. Anything that's on your mind of what people have shown us. It's still kind of early in the season, so we don't have a big history.
It is early. I guess I'm not surprised, but weakness policy hasn't been on every Pokemon like I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of refreshing. Of course, we know that the new VGC format is maybe a little less friendly to weakness policy. Um, I think that you and I are kind of interested in some of those other items that can give you attack or special attack boosts, not on par with weakness policy, but maybe to surprise your opponent or be able to use policy and absorb bulb or snowball or cell battery or something like that.
Yeah, seeing just how important that Surf +1 was for Gastrodon, like, that could be any Pokemon with an Absorb Bulb,
Yeah.
right? That could be anybody with a fast Surfer. I know that Weakness Policy was so exciting for me last season because it was the first time we were really playing VGC. It was kind of like flavor of the season, right? Weakness Policy was everywhere. Get an activator. I still think it's important to have good Weakness Policy options on your team, but the more that we play, the more obvious that becomes, and maybe becomes just less of a, you should do this. Sure, it's an option in your toolbox, but my match against John was the first time I didn't bring, or one of the few times I didn't bring a weakness policy on my team. But it is still a great option.
It's great. I just think we kind of got trained into this mode where we're like, okay, who's going to be my weakness policy mod? Need a weakness policy.
Yeah.
And you don't. You don't. It's just one way of setting up. But, I just saw a Golbat nasty plot. So there are other ways of setting up.
Yeah, certainly. And, I think we are veering further and further away from Dynamax, first turn, get my kills, like we saw in that Emilio Tyler match. Like, the Zweilous was kicking ass, but at the point that Tyler had no more Pokemon that were faster or could deal with this threat in the back, then Garchomp just gets to come and clean up with a few special defense boosts.
Yeah, it feels like there's this hidden stamina momentum meter in games right now where like you can see someone exhaust themselves and they get close to winning, and then if they don't get that like knockout punch, it can just go 180 degrees, just like that particular match.
Yeah. If you can't exhaust your opponent's win conditions, as people like to put it, then you yourself are put in a bad space. And that's something that I fall into a lot, is that I feel like I plan my leads to get a quick momentum, but not finish the job in a lot of cases. And that's something I think we're seeing everybody get better at, as we see players that have been successful, like Ryan and Carter, did that all through last season. And I think that more and more people are picking up on that sort of thing.
Hopefully I do too.
Yeah, well, I think you have also been great at doing that in the past. You, Mr. I only have 100 EVs in offense. You know, you're the king of waiting things out and setting up the mid-game trick room, the mid-game fake out. It's all sort of the same thing, right? Like waiting for your chance to strike and then shifting momentum back.
Yeah, and maybe not being afraid to lose a guy or two in the process. You know,
especially via switching.
Yep. Yeah, I need to be more comfortable just even sacking guys to get a favorable switch in.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. A lot of those matches that I highlighted with Marcus, Emilio Tyler. I mean, Emilio's doing a lot of it. Emilio and Marcus were kind of the big switchers. But it played out for both of them respectively, because they knew what they needed to keep alive, and it worked out. And I'm just so afraid of letting something die without needing to, but maybe you really do need to if you're looking at the overall picture.
Yeah, the philosophy of Pokemon.
Sure.
Are you all reading your Kant?
But yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see how things shake out, and I'm loving this. I'm personally going to try to get into a little bit of Season 10. Just a little disclaimer that Season 10 is now available, and we might be interested in starting some Uber Tuesdays remixed, you know, getting people into the VGC season again. There's a world, now that COVID is lifting, and maybe it's not very soon, but there's a world where in-person regionals are going to be a thing again. And the fact that we have 20 people strong, you know, playing VGC after 4 people dropped inspires me and makes me think that we could have a really cool regionals event to set up when things eventually open up again.
I feel positively about that maybe happening this year, you know. I think the company does too. So pick your favorite Uber, everyone.
Yeah. I'm curious. Yeah, we'll see what rule set ends up getting decided, because now that they're doing the multi-season rule set, who knows what Worlds is going to be.
It could shift. Yeah, you're right.
Which is kind of cool. But I think that's going to be it for what I have to say.
Me too. I've got to go make a team that can handle Araquanid, Ferrothorn, Galarian, Articuno, Marowak, Goodra, Incineroar.
Yeah, I'm excited because we get to see Riley's first match, because him and Marcus were, 4th of Julying last week, and we did not get a match from them. So I'm excited to see what Riley gets to bring out, because it feels like at the end of last season he was just picking up steam.
He was just waking up from his
slow
slumber.
Start.
Yeah. I'm nervous. I always have good games with Riley. They're always thought out, and every once in a while one of us times out because we're so slow.
We'll hope that doesn't happen tomorrow morning, and I will be hoping to get this video out. We are doing I guess I forgot to say this at the beginning, but I'm going to be trying to make draft chats a little bit less doctored, less post-production, just because of the fact that we need to get these out in time for people to listen to them. Otherwise, it gets a little bit dated. So we're going to go back to the old format here of just having Eric and I or other people hop on and just do the screen cap thing, as opposed to me going in and having to edit a bunch of fun pictures in. And there might be a time for that, but maybe in other video formats. So expect more of this to come every week. And thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks everybody for making content and playing and just making this an awesome thing. We'll see you next time.
Great matches, everyone.